Okay, so for this question, part A asks which country experienced the highest rate of economic growth during 2012. So that is to calculate the growth rate from 2011 to 2012. So firstly, let's look at Brazil. Okay, so for Brazil, we use the GDP of 2012 minus the GDP of 2011 divided by the GDP of 2011. Then we will get growth rate for Brazil at in 2012. So that is 1213 minus 1192. Okay, and divided by 1192. Okay, so that is if you calculate, it should be 0.0176. So that is a growth rate of the economy in Brazil in 2012. And for Mexico, so still same thing. We use GDP of 2012. That is 386 minus GDP of 2011. This is 12,774, and divided by the GDP of 2011. So that is 12,774. So if you calculate, it is 0.04. Okay, so this one means it is like 1.76% increase, and this is like 4% increase. And what about Thailand? So for Thailand, still the same thing. The GDP of 2012 is 4898, and the GDP of 2011 is 4600. When you divide it by 4600, and if you calculate, it should be 0.0647. So you could see that which country has the highest rate of economic growth. It should be Thailand. Okay, so it should be Thailand. This one is the highest because it's kind of like 6% growth rate compared with other countries. Okay, so this is part A. And for part B. So part B asks which country experienced the highest average annual growth rate between 2012 and 2014. So the average annual growth rate, we need to calculate 1 year, year by year. So let's first look at Brazil. So the GDP of Brazil in 2012 is 1213, and GDP in 2013 is 1247. So the economic growth rate, how to say it? The growth rate in the growth rate in 2030 is exactly we use firstly the GDP of 2030, that is 1247 minus the GDP of 2012, that is 1213, and divided by the GDP of 2012, that is 1213. So if you calculate, it should be 0.028. So that's a growth rate in 2013. And for the growth rate in 2014, so we need to use the GDP of 2014, that is 1248, minus GDP of 2013, that is 1247, divided by the GDP of 2014, that is 1247. That equals 0.0008. And about the annual growth rate, we need to add these two numbers up and divide it by 2. That is, we need to add up 0.028 and 0.008 divided by 2. So if you calculate, it goes 0.0144. So that is the annual growth rate from 2012 to 2014 of Brazil. Okay, so this is for Brazil. And in the same way, we can calculate the average annual growth rate of, this is average annual growth rate of Brazil. And the same way, we can calculate the average annual growth rate of Mexico. So the growth rate of 2013 equals exactly the GDP of 2013. That is 1,471 minus GDP of 2012. That is 1,286, and divided by the GDP of 2012, 1,286. So if you calculate, it should be equal to 0.0139, and the growth rate of 2014 equals the GDP of 2014. That is 1,757 minus the GDP of 2013, 1,471, divided by the GDP of 2013, 1,471. So it equals 0.0212. Okay, so the average, just like simplified, average annual growth rate. Use AAGR to stand for average annual growth rate, equals add the two growth rate up and divide by 2. So add up 0.0139 and 0.0212 and divided by 2. It equals 0.0176. So that is for Mexico. And lastly, can do the same thing for Thailand. So the growth rate of 2013 equals the GDP of 2013, that is 5040 minus 4898 divided by the GDP of 2012, that is 4898. It equals 0.0289, and the growth rate of 2014 equals the GDP of 2014, that is 5076 minus the GDP of 2013, 5040, and divided by 5040. So it equals 0.007. So the average annual growth rate of Thailand equals, we need to sum up the two annual growth rates. So sum up 0.0289 and 0.007 divided by 2. So it equals 0.01795. So that is the average annual growth rate of Thailand. So if you compare these three numbers, you can see that actually Thailand has the highest possible, has the highest average annual growth rate among the three countries, right? Okay, so this is part B. And for part C, say that does it matter for each country's real GDP is measured in different currency and use a different base year? Okay, so the answer for this should be no, because we are trying to compare the growth rate of different periods. So the result we get are all basic numbers or percentage. So there's no need to worry about the difference between currency, and there's no need to worry about which is the base year of our calculation, because we only need to compare different number of growths. So in that case, we don't need to worry about currency. We don't need to worry about the basic